Why do too many partnerships between dentists fail? Why do they go wrong? I'm talking with my amazing friend and sponsor, JJ, here today about the challenges and rewards of dental partnerships. Her company, Tuatara, will help you figure out whether you want to say yes or no to a partnership. So text partner to 215-543-6454 to learn how you can connect with JJ for a complimentary discovery call. JJ, welcome to Talking Nachos. Thanks for being a sponsor. Tell us a little bit what you do every day to help dentists increase success, decrease stress, and most of all, reduce crying inside.
I love it. Thanks for having me, Paul. So we help dentists come together and build what we call purpose-driven partnerships. So partnerships have meant a lot of things over the years. The partnerships of 20, 30 years ago were not the partnerships of today. So modern partnerships have different characteristics and they're set up differently, and they can be more successful than partnerships that were maybe set up for different reasons or different ways. So that's what we do every day is help dentists come together in partnerships so they can practice together.
And I love that. And what I found, and someone who has a dental partner and his brother, and someone who's been part of a family practice, and I'm sure there's differences between family partnerships and non-family partnerships. There's probably come with their own unique set of circumstances.
Mhm.
But tell me this, dentists have the same training. They want to help patients with teeth, but we find that they go sideways so many times.
Mhm.
We see a lot of people say never become partners with anyone, which I think is actually not the right message.
It
Become
is.
partners when it makes sense, but where do you see them going sideways, the failure? What are some cause and misalignment?
I think the first thing is not beginning with the end in mind. So oftentimes I think partnerships are structured in a way that don't set themselves up for success. We like to tease, we use a lot of dating analogies with partnerships because you'll hear dental partnerships are a lot like marriages.
Yeah.
And a lot of times dental partnerships are set up by divorce attorneys, right? So
Yeah.
we tease, we love attorneys. You have to have an attorney in this process. You'll see me in the forums all the time, encouraging people to use attorneys. But I think sometimes when we start with that kind of how do we get out of it and how does it end, sometimes we just don't set the right expectations. So beginning with the end in mind, setting up the structure in a way that's successful for both partners. Oftentimes partnerships, you wouldn't sign the other agreement, right? So if you're
Right.
the senior doctor and you're presenting something to a junior doctor that you wouldn't sign yourself, that can lead to problems. That can lead to challenges. So even though clinically you may be well suited, if you don't get the financial piece right, if you don't get the management responsibilities right, those can lead to, what starts as disagreements can kind of turn into deadlock. And when you get into that deadlock space, that's kind of where the spiral starts
Yeah.
spinning, and that's where partnerships fail. So setting it up from the beginning, getting the financial piece right, getting the management piece right, and then typically the clinical is already there.
You said something that's great value. I want to kind of talk about some, and I want to say that every situation is different, just like a treatment plan for a patient. But there are things that are consistent, right? There's people should not get 20 veneers before they see a hygienist, right? That's just a,
Right.
I don't need to know your specific situation to recommend that you first should see a hygienist, get x-rays, make sure you have good periodontal health before you get 20 veneers. Okay. So let's just talk about some consistent themes. And you said something that I've said for years. I don't have the same expertise as you do, but when partners or potential partners are 20 or 30 years apart in age,
Mhm.
what challenges that present? Because I see a lot of well-meaning older dentists who are 57 years old say, I'm going to reward my 28-year-old associate with a partnership option. I said, before you do that,
Mhm.
you should think about this. Tell us about this age disparity.
Absolutely. So we like to see 15 years or less in difference in experience level so that you have 10 or more years together to practice.
Yeah.
So when you have a doctor who is less than 10 years away from probably retiring or slowing way down, that's when you start to see some of the challenges kind of come up. So partnership insinuates equals. And if you're never going to be equal with someone who's already owned the practice for 30 years, there's just that doctor has a home field advantage you can't overcome as a junior doctor.
And I would say often their life situation is just going to be wildly different.
Very different.
I'm very proud of this. I think it's now almost 4 years ago. A 73-year-old dentist was partnered with a 56-year-old. The 73-year-old wanted to retire, and they asked me to go out and find the other partner, and I did, and it was hard.
Yeah.
And you might say, why didn't the 56-year-old just want to buy the whole practice? They just didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't their event. So we actually needed to bring in a partner from the side,
Mhm.
which was very difficult. And it held up both of their plans, but especially that 73-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Because the 56-year-old was practicing no matter what. So I think what you share is so important. Now, let's talk as we wrap up. How do people work with you? So someone's watching this or listening, or my team says, someone says, I'm about to partner, and they say, hold on, talk to JJ and her team first. Just walk us through these steps.
Yeah. So first things first, we do a free discovery call for Nachos members. So anybody that's a friend of Paul's, that's a friend of ours. So give us a call. Let us just chat and see, does a partnership make sense? Is this more of a succession plan? So if you've got someone who's in their 70s, that's not going to be a partnership. But let's help you walk through what it could be. If it is someone that's a great option for partnership, then we have what we call our purpose-driven partnership program. We do it in phases because a partnership takes years. This is not something you get done in 90 days, typically. This is usually something that is going to happen over time as the partners and the practice are developing. So we would sit down and go through phase one, which is our discovery phase, help you understand how purpose-driven partnerships work, how the financials work, what the different buy-in tranches would be, production thresholds, et cetera, growth for the practice, how we protect the junior and the senior doctor in those as the practice grows, et cetera. You'll hear all kinds of things about buying your growth and all that. We get it all on the table, and then give you a timeline to work through. And it may be typically year or more. Sometimes it can be shorter in unique circumstances, but we give you that whole timeline. So that's phase one. And then we work through these different phases over a course of a number of years.
I love it. I mean, I will share that I've seen so many rewarding partnerships and so many miserable ones, and you don't always know, but you need to go in with aligned expectations.
Yeah.
You need to go with understanding. I'm an equal opportunity kind of lawyer, JJ. Sometimes these associates go, I worked at this practice for a year, so the partnership, my buy-in should be free. I go, just because you did some class twos and checked hygiene. So I have a
Yeah.
feeling when you're involved, you're just managing expectations of both sides because no one teaches us this in dental school. This is one where I think and they always say feelings are not facts, but this is like the feelings both sides can have about this can just be so off base when it comes to reality. So
Great.
I think it's awesome what you do. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our community before we wrap up?
Thanks. No, would love again to chat with anybody if you're considering partnership. We have a ton of free resources. We have a special page just for our Nachos friends. And then also, if you check out our website, a bunch of free resources there too. We want to be sure you guys have the information you need to make a good decision because a bad partnership is like a bad marriage. It's expensive and painful to get out of. We want to help people avoid those and to have a really healthy, powerful relationships and see private practice owners thrive.
Us dentists, we deserve to smile more and cry less too.
Absolutely.
Text partner to 215-543-6454. Reach out to us at dentalnachos.com. Thanks, JJ.
Thanks, Paul.